More Stories from Grandma's Attic by Arleta Richardson, illustrated by Dora. Chapter 14. The Cover-Up. The parlor in Grandma's old home was a special room saved for company. It wasn't often used by the family, so there were rules for it that didn't apply to the rest of the house. One was, we don't eat in the parlor. I knew this rule and had not thought of disobeying it. But one day, as I munched on a cookie in the kitchen, I happened to think of a picture in the photograph album that I wanted to see. Still holding the cookie, I went into the parlor. I was turning the pages of the album when I heard Grandma coming down the hall. Quickly, I pushed the cookie between the chair and the cushion. I intended to go back and get it, but during the course of the day I forgot about it. The next time Grandma cleaned the parlor, she found the dried-out cookie crumbs. "I'm sorry, Grandma," I said. "I didn't mean to take it in there. I just forgot." "Why in the world did you shove it down in the chair?" she asked. "I thought you'd scold me." "Well, I would have. And I should now. You know better than to cover up something you've done wrong. You can be pretty sure it will be found out." Uncle Roy came into the kitchen just then, and he began to laugh. "I don't see anything very funny about that, Roy," Grandma said. "I'm trying to teach the child to be obedient." "I'm not laughing at what she did. I just remembered something I covered up. Do you remember the time I teased you about the dishes, Mabel?" "Oh my, I should say so. I hadn't thought about that for a long time. That certainly proved that your sin will surely find you out." Of course, I had to know all about that, so Grandma told me the story. I was only about 6 when it happened. I wanted to help Ma with the work, and I begged her to let me do the dishes. She wasn't sure that I could handle the whole job, but she would let me wash and dry the silverware occasionally. One evening, as Ma started to wash the supper dishes, I began to pester her to let me do them. Roy was in the kitchen, and I guess he decided this would be a good time to tease me. "You're too little, Mabel," he said. "You know you can't do dishes. That's not a job for babies. Wait until you get big like me." "I can sew," I retorted. "I'm not a baby, and I can do dishes as well as you can." "Oh, no, you can't do anything as well as I can. You're still a baby, and besides, you're just a girl." This was more than I could stand, and I lit into Roy with both fists. I was howling with rage, and Roy was laughing at my attempts to pound him. Ma decided she had heard enough. "Mabel, stop that right now," she commanded. "And Roy, since you're so big and a boy, you can do the dishes tonight." This was certainly not what Roy had planned on. "Aw, no, Ma, I didn't mean it. She can do the dishes if she wants to." "You can do the dishes whether you want to or not," Ma said firmly. "Maybe you'll learn not to tease your sister so much." So she tied an apron around Roy's middle and told him to get busy. He did, but he grumbled loudly. Ma ignored him and took me into the other room. I didn't find out what happened until I was much older. After Ma and I left the kitchen, Roy began to pile the dishes into the dishpan. Ma was always very careful to put just a few dishes in at a time, but Roy was anxious to have this distasteful job over, so he dumped most of them in together. He soon wished he hadn't, for he reached into the dishpan and took out half of one of Ma's good plates. He fished around in the pan and found the other half. He thought maybe he could mend it before Ma found out, so he put the 2 pieces out by the hen house to glue them in the morning. His intentions were good, but his judgment wasn't. Without bothering to dry his soapy hands, he started out the back door with the broken plate. Partway down the path, it began to slip from his grasp. Unable to hold one piece and grab for the other, Roy watched them both fall to the ground and smash into small bits. He glanced back at the door. No one had heard what happened, so he pushed the pieces into the grass beside the path. He figured he would get up early and pick them up before Ma saw them, and if she missed the plate before then, he'd just have to tell her he broke it. Roy returned to the kitchen and, working more carefully, finished the dishes. As the boys went to bed that night, Roy asked Reuben to wake him up early. "What for?" Reuben asked suspiciously. "You never want to get up early." Well, tomorrow I do, and that's none of your business. The next morning Roy was awakened early to discover that it had snowed during the night. There was no sign of a path between the house and the barnyard. He breathed a sigh of relief as he realized that he couldn't pick up the pieces now and no one would see them. He promptly dismissed the broken plate from his mind and didn't think about it again. That winter happened to be one of the stormiest we had. The snow didn't leave the ground at all. New snow fell before the old could melt. But spring came, as it always does, and one morning Pa came in for breakfast with some news. "I think I saw one of your good plates this morning," he said to Ma. "A plate? Where did you see it?" "It's out there beside the path," Pa replied. "But it's in too many pieces to do you much good. Did you forget that you broke it?" "No, I certainly did not. I would certainly remember something like that. And I don't remember anyone else saying they had either." Ma looked directly at me. "Not me," I said quickly. "I didn't break it, honest, Ma." "I did," Roy admitted in a small voice. "You?" Ma exclaimed. "When did you have my good plate outside?" "The night you made me wash the dishes. It was an accident. I didn't mean to break it." Ma looked puzzled. "Why in the world didn't you say something about it before?" "I meant to fix it," Roy said, "but it snowed and covered it up and I forgot all about it. I'm sorry." Pa looked at Roy sternly. "I hope you're sorry you broke the plate and not just sorry the snow melted. You should have told Ma about it right away. You know that what you cover up will be found out sooner or later, don't you?" Roy nodded and looked ashamed. "You can save your money and buy a new plate. And remember," Pa added more kindly, "even if your parents never find out what you do, God knows about it and you are responsible to Him." Uncle Roy nodded as Grandma finished the story. "I didn't forget that," he said. "I've tried to live my life so the Lord would be pleased with me. I sure know it's useless to cover up anything." End of chapter 14.